Welcome to this community newspaper Facebook program, Excellence in Education. This is Marta Perez, and our mission is to expose and inspire excellence in education. Please follow us on Facebook and send questions via our chat room. We are so honored and pleased today to have a person who has dedicated her life to excellence and kindness. She is our very own Miami-Dade County Mayor, Daniella Levine-Cava. People usually introduce her as the first female mayor of our counties in our county's history. But I don't want the message to be diluted as this powerful person uh, who has experienced so much that prepared her to be a great mayor, regardless of her gender. Her empathetic and responsible nature is palpable. As a mayor, she oversees the metropolitan government of more than 28,000 employees, nearly 3 million residents, and a budget of approximately $9 billion. She served as a county commissioner from 2014 to 2020 when she was elected mayor. Before that, she served as an advocate for low income families for more than 30 years. And Mayor Levine-Cava, I think our community witnessed your strong leadership on many occasions, but especially it was very visible during the Surfside building collapse, where your decisiveness and responsibility was exceptional at a time of crisis and gained national and international news. And you were exceptional in your representation of our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I
Thank
could
you.
go on and on about her life achievements and award that are so many that I'd spend all this time. And we need to speak to hear from this powerful woman herself. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce the inimitable Mayor Daniella Levine-Cava.
Thank
Tell us,
you.
Madam Mayor, about yourself and your background.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Perez. And, I'd like to just share a personal reflection that you and I know each other for a very long time.
Yes, ma'am.
Almost the full 40 years that I've lived in Miami. You're one of my first friends in Miami. We were active together at the
Yes,
League of Women Voters.
that's right.
And so I've had the opportunity to watch your career and all of the extraordinary leadership that you have
Thank you.
exhibited. So thank you so much for having me today. Well, a little bit about me. I have lived in Miami-Dade for over 40 years. My husband calls me imported talent. He he grew up here. He went to Carl Gables High, Ponce Middle, etc. And it was supposed to be temporary. We were going to sail around the world, but he was going to give his dad a sabbatical as doctor. Unfortunately, his dad was diagnosed with cancer, and one thing and another, we never left. We never did that sail around the world, but instead, we had two fabulous children, Eliza and Ted, and have lived a really wonderful, wonderful life here. And my background is in law and social work. I started my career here at Legal Services of Greater Miami. I was with the Guardian Ad Litem program for many years. I founded Voices for Children. I went on to the state system and worked running foster care, adoption, child welfare, and eventually founded now Catalyst Miami, after which I was there for 18 years and then decided to run for office.
Where do you think you get your very kind and altruistic nature? Where did that come from, Daniela?
Well, thank you for that interesting question. um, I have a very wonderful family and upbringing. My mother is a social worker. My dad was
Are they? Is your mom? I know your father.
My father recently passed.
But
yes,
your mom.
my mom is alive in New York City still,
Yeah.
and she had a late career. She raised the children and then went back to graduate school and then had a wonderful career in social work. But she certainly is very well known for being loving, kind person. And so certainly that is instilled in me from my childhood. But also I have I've learned over the years to be a better listener. So I think it's important that you can really change and grow. I was not, maybe as a young person, I was very full of ideas and eager to move things forward. Still am, but I was perhaps not as ready to just slow down a little bit and listen. And I went to graduate school in social work, and that certainly helped me. The law degree also helped me to understand better how to vindicate people's rights. And it's just been a joyous life and career.
And you have siblings?
Yes, I have actually. My father had two marriages, so we have altogether five of us: three from the
Oh,
first marriage, two from the second. So I'm blessed with many siblings. My two children don't live here, unfortunately, but they're both married, and I have two fabulous little girl grandchildren
all
in
right.
Washington D.C.
Did they come down for your campaign? Were they able to appreciate all
Yes.
the effort of running for a mayor in such a large county? Was your family able to appreciate? Because sometimes I know I
Yeah.
have children too
And grandchildren.
and grandchildren,
Yes.
right? And I don't know that they can understand some of the things
Yeah.
that happen if their moms have political careers and all.
Yes, thank you for that question too. This is really a nice interview. I'm
Yes.
appreciating this very, very personal. So, when I decided to run, or when I was considering running for county commission, which really had never been my ambition, the first thing I did was reach out to my family,
Uh-huh.
and my children were the most enthusiastic.
Uh-huh.
And for one thing, they thought it was great that I could reinvent myself. Like,
Uh-huh.
oh, mom, I was 59.
Uh-huh.
So I was a late bloomer, and
Uh-huh.
they were very enthusiastic, and they've been extremely supportive. My grandchildren are 2 and 4 years of age. So when I first ran, they didn't exist. So, but since then, and they have been involved. Because of COVID, we did not see them so much during my campaign. But I will say that my granddaughter, who's now 4, when it was time to vote in Washington, D.C., insisted that her mom vote for me. So they had to write my name in on the
Oh my,
ballot.
that's a very cute story. And your mom also,
My
she
mother is
must be
definitely me.
so
Yes.
proud.
She's a very, very big fan, my mother.
Yes.
Yes, she's a big
Well,
supporter.
I was going to ask you if you always had it in the back of your mind to run, because what I remember 40 years ago, and it
Mhm.
wasn't 40 years ago, but maybe 30 years ago, I remember seeing you in Tallahassee,
Yeah.
always advocating, we all have to go to Tallahassee to beg for money. And I remember you
Hmm.
going up to for different organizations and walking in the halls and you know didn't seem to have a political leaning at the time. However, when I've read about you, you were always a leader. And I mean, I don't know at what age the leadership gene kicked in, but you were the president of the student body at Yale University.
Yes.
That is something. And so, um, what do you think is your particular talent in leadership? And it didn't just happen now at 59. I think you've had that all along.
Right. Well, just to be clear, I'm now 66. So
Uh-huh.
59 when I started my political career. I really never had political ambitions. That was not my plan. My plan was to be someone who worked in the community for change. And so, with my law and social work degrees, especially, I was able to move forward many important public policy issues, social causes. That was my calling, my passion. Um, so, as far as leadership generally, the last time that I was elected, the first time was in college, and then I didn't run again until age 59. So, I think leadership comes in many forms and many places. I believe strongly in inside outside strategies. You have to have um, organized, informed, mobilized public to have a strong democracy. So my work over the many years was to build up people's capacity to actively participate, petitioning government, telling truth to power. And I felt very proud that I had done a good job with that over the many years and learned how to be more effective and work with many to create strong coalitions to accomplish important things from the outside. But it was not my ambition to step inside. And finally, I realized that not all elected officials were as enthusiastic as I about hearing from the public. And so I had produced the product, but I didn't have a consumer, or I had the supply, but there was not a demand for public participation. So I really felt that stepping inside government would create that synergy where people would have a stronger voice because I would help to create that opportunity for greater
So,
participation.
so what happens when the consumers are not agreeing with you? As you know, we are now in
Yes.
such a polarized environment.
Yes,
So
yes.
what happens? We want to hear from we want to hear from our constituents, but sometimes what they say or whatever are things that we strongly do not agree
Yes,
with.
yes.
What do you do there, Madam?
You're so right that the polarization is just devastating and very destructive to our democracy, I believe. But I'll give you an example of how it's worked well. And for sure, there are people unhappy. Not everything I do is popular. And of course, I
Of
get
course,
pushback.
of course.
But the budget process in the county, we just concluded my first budget uh, cycle. And the people coming from the public were so thankful for having been engaged earlier in the process,
Oh, good.
starting in January and February, being fully informed and engaged. Their ideas helped to frame the budget so they could see how what they were contributing was showing up in the budget. So it was kind of like a love fest, several people referred to it, as compared to the year before when I was still a commissioner and there was so much unhappiness and rancor. So it, I think that when we provide an opportunity to truly educate and engage, we're not going to win everyone over, but people are going to be grateful for the respect, the consideration, the opportunity.
That's great to hear, and I guess I should take some of that back because at the school district,
Mm.
what has happened is when we passed budgets in the past, there was no one. We'd have public hearings, no one showed up. Now we have many people showing up with different views of
Yes, sure.
and it has become very contentious and contentious outside, maybe because there are issues that are brought that have nothing to do with the budget, but that just the
Hmm.
differences of opinion. But I believe that we have to listen to everyone and listen to what they're saying, and then making the best decisions that we can. But I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that the budget process has so been improved at the county.
Well, and I'll say that for the commissioners who often haven't appreciated that rancorous public participation, so many of them spoke up as well and said that they were grateful for the level of participation and that it had been a totally changed and more participatory process. So I'm hoping that others are ready. And I do think it comes down to listening. So, for example, I don't want to name specifically, but there was a certain jurisdiction that had long testimony that really nobody was there. And it was legally sufficient for them to be listening, supposedly, let's say, virtually. And so that feels so disrespectful. And, you know, if you're a member of the public, you want to know that actually your legislators recognize that they're there at their behest.
Exactly.
We're there
Exactly.
to serve the public.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I see it as customer service. They're the customers.
Absolutely.
They pay the bill.
Yeah.
We have to be accountable and responsive.
Yeah. I 100% agree. So, what keeps you up at night about your job or anything else?
Well, there's a lot of things that I want to achieve for the county, many ambitions for the county. And many of them require the board. And the board is 13 intelligent, thoughtful, ambitious people, and they have their ideas. So finding the pathway to something that will be mutually agreeable, that takes a lot of my time and energy. And so certainly that is a source of
Worry.
worries. Yes, I would have to say. Also, things happen in the community about which I have little or no control, and I'm still responsible.
Mhm.
So, doing everything that we can to prepare for those kinds of emergencies, being ready and able to immediately step into action. Uh, and we have, for example, Surfside, which of course is a topic that everyone is interested in. We had the best of the best on display: our fire department, our police department, many other departments that swung into action, our budget department, um, our, our, our social services, all of that was on full display. And I feel so very proud that we did so well.
We did have the best of the best. We had you.
Well,
And
thank
I
you.
have to say, I would watch the TV and I was so impressed. Oh my goodness, how well she's representing us to the
Hmm.
national and international
National.
community. And you were on top of everything, and we're going to do this and this and this. There was no question about your leadership and your ability
Hmm.
to calm everyone. Okay, she's got that. She's got that. During a time where it could have become a
It
chaotic
could have, yes.
and your leadership was brilliant. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Oh,
No, thank
thank you.
you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, one of the things, of course, that is very bothersome, and this is excellence in education, and I always have the education lean about children, and the county and others, are working for together with children, and people don't understand exactly what it is. It's about the children that are killed in the streets, not in schools, but in the street violence. How do you feel about that? What are your feelings about how we can control this? I'm not really sure that we are able. I know that some of the programs that are being put in to um, are against truancy and things like that, but I believe the message has to come to the parents in the community. We can't have this. We can't have children dying and be
Mm,
because a stray bullet killed one of our students, and it continues to happen in
yes.
spite of the movements like Together for Children. What do you think about that, Daniela?
Yes. Well, I'm going to go back a little bit in time and tell you that my career goal was to be an elementary school principal.
Oh.
At a certain point, I believe that it's all about providing our children with opportunities to be loved and supported and be as productive in their lives as they can be. And so I'm really passionate about that. And it is sad that I don't get to talk more about educational issues because, of course, we have a great school board and superintendent, and it's not my lane. But there are so many ways that we can collaborate. And one is that we have launched our Peace and Prosperity Plan,
Mhm.
which is a comprehensive approach to preventing crime, intervening early in crime, helping those who do time to return to be productive members of society, and supporting neighborhoods to be places that are safe and conducive to those good outcomes. And I'm very excited. We're doing an inventory right now. Together for Children is a big part of this effort because of the community coalitions and relationships that they've established. And so we're going to be dovetailing all of that and looking for ways to really support our children early and their families. So one thing we did this summer already, there's a program called Fit to Lead, which is an award-winning program in the park system that gives summer jobs to young people. And we turned it into a program to intervene in the lives of children who've already had some contact with the juvenile justice system. So this was our first cohort in the summer. It's continuing during the year, and we're very hopeful. And after all, that combined with increased enforcement, we had Operation Summer Heat, and we really kicked crime to the curb this summer after a very violent spring, and I don't know if you heard the news, but the second perpetrator, alleged perpetrator, has been arrested in the El Mula banquet hall shooting.
Oh,
Yes, so we're
I think
moving
I saw that
forward.
in the background
Yes,
this morning.
just happened, and we're very grateful to our law enforcement, the great work they're doing. We do have to have strong law enforcement, but we all know that what is it? A pound of prevention, no, an ounce of prevention is
Prevention
worth a pound
pound
of
of cure.
cure.
Yes.
So that's the premise behind our work with peace and prosperity, and we want to work closely with you and the other school board members and the superintendent.
Well, here's another question that maybe I'm just bringing up because the this Miami-Dade County is the county and cities, and the schools that are within cities, in my opinion, seem to get the support of the cities. The cities adopt them,
Mm.
and all of those things, and there's more interaction. But the schools that are just a county, especially the ones out west, some that I represent, uh, and down south that are not within cities, they don't have that level of support
Hmm.
and people checking up. And I was wondering, it, have you thought about that? What are some of the things that, as the places where there are no cities, how the county can get involved under your leadership,
Hmm.
maybe to do a little more for those schools?
Well, that's a great invitation. And actually, it's so interesting because as county commissioner, I was always trying to get into those schools in my district, some in cities, but mostly in unincorporated.
Not incorporated.
And it, because we should be working more together.
Yes.
So I think that's a really great point that you raise. The commissioners that serve areas that are unincorporated are really like the mayors for those districts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thinking particularly of Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner Soto, they have largely unincorporated areas, even more so than Commissioner McGee and Commissioner Danielle Cohen-Higgins, for example. So I imagine, I know because I was recently at an event with Commissioner Martinez, they're more involved in the schools because there isn't, as you say, a city to specially join forces. But I accept your invitation. Let's talk
Good.
about it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Tell us, how do you balance your family responsibilities with the responsibilities of being a mayor? And that's the kind of question that I've heard is a sexist question, because I've heard you never ask
Yes,
that of
yeah.
a male
Correct,
of a
correct.
male mayor. Why do you ask that? But it just seems like it just seems that some for women it's just
Yes.
not the norm. And those of us that are in public life, we have and I guess for men too, we have the family
Yes.
and the
Yes.
job. I don't know if you don't want to answer it. That's
No,
okay.
no, that's thank you. And thank you for pointing out sometimes those disparities. Or
Uh-huh.
when I was asked the question, do I go home and cry every night when I was up at Surfside? Like, do you ask that of a
Of a
man?
man.
Okay, so I'm so fortunate that I came to this late in life. My children are grown. They're not here in Miami, which is sad for me, but also means that I have less opportunity to spend time with
Uh-huh.
them. My husband is very well and quite self sufficient and quite excited to be in the role that he's in. And of course, my father came. He moved here after his uh, his my stepmom, his second wife, passed. He moved here, and you know, of course, then I needed to find ways to include him. And actually, many know this. He went with me to many events. So this was an opportunity for him to hang out with me and also enjoy the fact that I was serving in this role, about which he was very proud. Um, but I do imagine for those who have, you know, more family responsibilities than I do, that it can be very challenging. Certainly, as mayor, which is more than, of course, a full time job, um, I'm very fortunate to have so much support.
And one other, we're almost running out of time, but the media.
Mm.
The media has changed so much. You've been around politics for a while,
Mhm.
and the media has changed so much. How do you handle the press, particularly when it's something that you would prefer not to talk about, maybe, or
Mm.
something that is
Right,
unpleasant?
right. Well, I am just like I'm a big fan of public participation. I'm a big fan of the media. I believe that media is critically important for our democracy. I think it's great when we get coverage for the things that we're working on. Sometimes I challenge members of the media to cover the good things, not just the bad things. But I think because I am so open and responsive, I've had uh, very positive relations with media. And I will say too that the Surfside experience brought us closer together. That was media again from all over the world. We were there 24/7, twice a day briefings, more than a month, and I had an opportunity to be through something together. We even did a memorial that we invited the media to participate in as people.
Hmm. That was very nice.
Yeah.
That was such a terrible thing for our community. And well, thank you again for your leadership. I think you were instrumental in who were glued to the television set every time you came on. It was very comforting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Now we're almost out of time, so I'll ask you, how do you relax?
Well, I love nature. I love to be outdoors, and my best times are canoeing on the
Ah,
bay, walking in the woods,
mhm.
going into the Everglades for camping trips. Believe it or not,
Ah,
yes.
hey.
So we do a lot of outdoor things, and that is, it's like when you're in nature, it's hard to be focused on some of these problems that are people made. you know, it puts it in a different perspective.
Right. And what is your favorite meal, Madam Mayor?
Well, there's so many favorite meals. That is very hard to say. Um, my mother-in-law was a great, great cook,
Oh,
and she is no longer with us, but we all lovingly prepare foods in her style. She was uh, Turkish of Italian descent, and whether it was tiramisu
oh.
or bamia, which are bamia, which are okra cooked in
Uh-huh.
tomato sauce. I just name a few of those.
Those sound very
Very
delicious.
delicious. And she did one time for a birthday present do a virtual cooking class, which was
Oh
very
my
nice.
goodness, how
It was
nice, how
great.
nice. Well, Madam Mayor, thank you so much for being here. We are so blessed to have you as our very distinguished mayor. Is there anything you'd like to say before we close the program to the audience?
Well, I'm so happy to be in this conversation. I do regret not spending more time involved with our wonderful children and their education. And I will say that parental involvement is so critical. I know you believe in that strongly. And we want our parents to be, they're the first educators, of course, and they need to be our partners, and we need to support them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for tuning in to Excellence in Education.